Have you ever spent 5 minutes browsing IGN or Kotaku or one of the other innumerable gaming websites that litter the internet? Well, if you have, I bet there's a good chance you've stopped and thought to yourself, I could do that too. Well, regardless of whether or not you could, Mr. or Mrs. Precocious, here's a handy guide on how to join the wondrous and stimulating world of video games journalism. Before you start, try and find out if you have any connections. Basically, somebody who is or works with existing games journalists. If so, you've hit the fast track, and like the lucky bastard you are, you'll be referred to them and able to pitch your article ideas straight away. Still, you've got almost no writing experience and your grasp of deadlines is poor, so you'll have to grind away freelance forever like the rest of us. So much for your contacts, you nepotistic, talentless mother. You'll want to start by getting a blog. That or scrawling your thoughts onto the back of a discarded piece of cardboard that doubles as a homeless man's bed, because nobody's going to read it either way. Think of the blog as a kind of sandpit in which nothing really matters, so you're free to throw around article ideas and reviews of old Commodore 64 games as much as you like, just to get your eye in. There are a couple of ways you can go about acquiring some writing space. There are pre-built blogging or writing hosting websites like DeviantArt and Blogspot, but they don't look particularly professional to the copy editor who will eventually be looking over your application pieces, so it might be best to invest in some actual server space with a real hosting company like a proper grown-up. WordPress is a good start. It's hostable on your own server, it's professional looking, customizable and free, but you didn't hear it from me. Of course, you'll also want to think about what kinds of articles you want to write. Reviews are the most common, but in doing them you find yourself in competition with the existing professional journalists who have the winning combination of 1. Writing ability, and 2. Getting the games early. Feature articles are good, even if the term is needlessly vague and can at best be boiled down to isn't a review. This can be anything from serious opinion pieces to list-type articles about your favourite games on the WonderSwan, to wacky stuff like a day in the life of Starfy, the beloved Nintendo starfish mascot who nobody knows outside Japan. Actually, Starfy's life is probably really dull. He just lies there stuck to a rock all day like a real starfish. Plus he can't write it down, what with his lack of opposable digits. Or a brain. Whatever. News is the last big article type, and given that you'll be doing what all journalists on the internet do and reposting press releases and linking to articles from other, bigger sites, you'll want to have your personal view on things. Don't go on too mad a diatribe, since your claims that Kaz Hirai strangles cats and Nintendo is withholding the Mother series to encourage suicide might draw the attention of legal teams somewhere down the road, but a healthy opinion is fine as long as you still report the facts in their entirety and don't mislead the reader. Of course, having 3 kinds of article going at the same time, plus whatever Let's Play thing you're probably occasionally farting out to placate those gamers who see reading as some sort of chore, might get quite taxing if you're doing it all on your own, so it's a good idea to get a team together. Try to make it someone you can contact in real life if you have to, since trying to hold meetings over Skype often results in someone having a desktop mic impaled through their computer screen. So, you have a small team, you have a place to write, and you have some things to actually talk about. Go get 'em, guys! Actually, yeah, there was one thing I wanted to talk to you about. Do you have any money? Yes, as you may have noticed, video games cost quite a lot of cash unless you steal them, and if you do that, then posting your exploits online might be less sensible than an idiot who's fallen down the stairs. If you're doing reviews and want to save money, try reviewing independent games. They're cheaper than regular boxed titles, the money isn't going to giant evil corporations, and a lot of them are actually really good. Yes, it's a common misconception that video games journalism is all free games and champagne. More often than not, it'll be months until you get your first review title, and even then it'll probably be something called Pigbums 3000 for the Atari Jaguar. No, if you want to get free entertainment in exchange for relatively little publicity, try and blag an interview with one of the developers. The project lead is often busy, but sometimes you might get a creative director or an art designer to come and talk to you. Interviews are a particularly brilliant idea if you're trying to get publicity for your site. They generally attract people who are part of the interviewee's fan base. They require very little writing on the part of the journalist, since written interviews are basically enormous long-form questionnaires, and audio interviews, free-form discussions on a vague topic with someone who's more often than not genuinely interesting to talk to. Plus they win you favour with developers, who you can often persuade into sending you review codes for their games. Once you're firing your opinions into the ether like a heavily armed blind person with a particular hatred for the sky, it's worth getting some feedback. This is the point at which you nudge, cajole and threaten your co-workers, family, friends and passers-by into reading your site and leaving some feedback. Understandably, most of it will be negative, because up until this point you've been pounding your fists fruitlessly against the keyboard for a few months, but at some point you'll get constructive and usable responses and start to write like a coherent journalist instead of an angry troll on a forum. Yes, after months of toil and having exhausted your personal finances, your view count is in the low hundreds and you've been tweeted about by a few moderately famous people. Well done. Still, you'll want to abandon your beloved blog as soon as possible in favour of joining a more prestigious volunteer site. You find just the thing, so you send them a friendly email and an example article. Of course, they can't actually pay you yet, that would be too simple. No, you're here to make a name for yourself, so you write a high-minded think piece about the depiction of communist ideology as seen in the Pokemon games. This draws the attention of the staff, it draws the ire of the copy editor, who is himself an actual communist and has you rewrite the article 14 times until you get the depiction of Marxist-Leninist economics absolutely spot on. So much for the workers' bloody paradise. Still, the article does eventually get written, and you get a reasonable amount of feedback suggesting how the article could be improved next time. This cycle continues for a while, with you supplementing your income through freelance work, until finally you get a suggestion from some professional journalists that you come and join their team. For money! You've made it! You're an actual journalist! Of course, this means your workload is heavier, you might have to move house, and your activities are under constant scrutiny by the internet, but hey, you're in! It's all dinner parties and strippers from here on out, baby! Of course, your pay is abysmal, so you might start to wonder at some point, how can I make it so that I don't have to live off discarded pastries at the back of the bakery? At that point, a timely email arrives from a publisher inviting you to one of their press open days. You go, expecting a dull few hours of conversation with other journalists, but find a pristine press event at which PR people have laid out an impressive spread for journalists to get their teeth stuck into. Of course, they've laid out all this nice stuff for you, why wouldn't you want to give the game a good review? Well done, now they've got you. Within 3 months you're handing out Spike VGA awards to slick marketing types with names like Adrian or Jono or Adolf, who use words like optimization or enablement or have a pool table in their office and who I despise. You're giving great scores to crap from established publishers just to get more games further down the line. You've lost any love you might once have had for the medium, but you carry on anyway, alone, until you finally expire, surrounded by your life-size Master Chief statue, and a pallet of Nintendo-branded scarves, and a big fat paycheck from one Mr. B. Elzebub. You're not a journalist anymore, you're just a marketing shill, like the men you thought were so nice. And that's exactly how games journalism works.